Today we're talking with Eric Chadderdon. He went from $91,000 in debt to $280+ million in multifamily real estate. An inspiring story to say the least. So let's get into it. But dude, I just want to talk obviously today, understand, your background of money, right? Like where you grew up, how you perceived money, your experiences, things like that. And I know you gave me a lot of detail about your situation previous to this episode, but would love for you kind of expand growing up. How was money in the house kind of viewed?
Yeah, so I had two sides of it, right? I had my mom and then my dad. And, my mom was just like the giver. My mom would give me everything. It was just like, hey, this is, just loves her son, total mama's boy. My dad was like the frugal one, the one that was like teaching me lessons and all of those kind of things. And so we were actually way better off than I thought. I just wasn't aware of it. My dad we never had super nice things. And really, I didn't know this, but he was building a big real estate portfolio, big real estate empire for our family, and just living below his means. Like that's what we did our whole life. And so I never really knew until like I got to the end of my high school days and we bought like this really big house and I was like on the lake and I was like,
Dad's gotten
something,
something here.
yeah, something's going on here. Yeah. But I started putting some pieces together as I was growing up because I'd go do work at the rental properties and I'm like, man, you know what? These are probably doing pretty good for him. But I never learned like the business side of it with them, but that's kind of how it was. It was like we always lived below our means. We were always very frugal, but we had what we needed to.
I didn't know I knew you, obviously you're in real estate. I didn't know your parents are in real estate.
Yeah, yeah. So I grew up around this stuff. So like single families, my parents had like 10 to 12 single family homes, and then they also had two apartment complexes as well.
Are
So
they
they were
full
smaller
time
ones.
or was this like a side gig?
It was more of a side gig. Yes, they did everything on their own completely, which kind of sparked me to get into multifamily the way that I did. But I mean, my parents every day they wake up, they'd go to the apartments from like 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Then they'd go to their 9 to 5s, and then they'd go back to the apartments like every day till like 8 or 9. And I was like, man, you guys are in your 60s. Like that's like I love the hustle. I respect it, but like at that point in their life, like I just wanted them to relax, live life,
Yeah.
travel, go do stuff to where they can get some like peace, not be grinding 12, 13, 14-hour days.
So you said they were older when they were doing that. So what led them to doing that? Because like obviously was money tight growing up, or what you said it wasn't. So like were they just workaholics? Did they feel a certain need to do this?
I think it was just my dad started dabbling in it. They both started dabbling in it. They got a couple rentals and they kept like leveling up, getting the next rental, getting the next one. And after we had like 10 or 12, they got into apartments. And like my dad just likes the game, and he likes the grind of the real estate world, finding good deals, evaluating them. And I always saw him kind of enjoy that. But what he didn't enjoy was being a landlord. And so he was self-managing everything, which is why I kind of got into the realm that I'm in.
That's what I was about to say. You do the multifamily space, and obviously from your perspective, syndications, it's probably less management from your end, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Like we like the big properties, 100+ unit deals. You've been a part of some, and we like it because there's enough cash flow that comes through to justify paying a third party to manage it for us, so we don't have to.
Now, growing up, like obviously your parents did pretty well. Like you bought the big house and stuff like that. You knew they were doing somewhere decent. What was like the conversation around money? I know you said there wasn't like a whole lot of talk about it, but you kind of pieced together along the way. Was there anything like obviously your mom was giving as well? Like, was there anything that like led you to know about anything of financial education or like how you should handle money? Like when you first made your first dollar, like was there any flashbacks? Oh, mom and dad said this when I grew up that created this result.
Yeah, yes and no. It wasn't like hey, this is how you should be doing it. It was like, it was more like I was observing my dad kind of save and put things away and how frugal he was. Like there was like conscious decisions in moments to where we could have spent money to do something. And like I'd see the wheels spin in his head and then we'd not do it, and it's like knowing, but you can't get wealthy. The wealthy people don't get wealthy by spending everything. Right. So, but that said, my dad was incredible. My parents were both incredible at this, but at ingraining like principles into my head at a young age. Like
Hmm.
one of the first things I did, like instead of just giving me money, they would encourage me to go earn it on my own. And even at a young age. So what we did is my sister and I, we started this company where we'd go knock on doors in our neighborhood as kids, and we took these little stencils, like the address paint in front of someone's house.
Yeah.
So we'd just go to all the ones that were like faded away. We'd go knock on their door and said, "Hey, well, my sister and I were out here like repainting people's address paint, and $20, or I don't remember what we did, but we like that's what we do in the summers to go make money."
That's an awesome thing. So when I grew up, I was like kind of the same entrepreneurial mind. Funny enough, we're both in the entrepreneurial space now, but like when I grew up, like we did kind of a similar thing. I used to love doing exactly what you just mentioned, but also one of the things we did, which is funny, my mom went to Kinko's, there's like the old copy when you went to
Yeah,
like
yeah,
like paper, and she she got a laminated business card. It was just like a picture of me and my friends. And what we did, which is crazy, we would take a bat, like a big wiffle ball bat, and we would go exterminate, quote unquote, bees in like was backyard.
pinata.
And it was basically pinata. And we would, I mean, we'd probably tear up the yard. I'm thinking back to like my adult self versus my child self. I thought I was doing a good job whacking bees.
Yeah,
They're I'm sure the parents were like, these kids are destroying my property row. But like we
sure
charged
you.
$5, and like that was a good way to make money. And that's funny you say that you were painting the addresses because I remember 637 Lake Ridge Court. Since go look at my first house ever, and that was specifically like that thing we did as well.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy because like I think what it taught me in that moment was like this was a huge principle that it taught me at such a young age. Like what you want, you can create it if you believe it. It's like literally the world is yours if you just go after it and create it. If we wanted more money, if we wanted to go shopping, if we wanted to go to the movies, then we could just go create it with some work, with some effort, right? And so that was a pretty cool principle to learn super young.
And that was a big revelation for you because that kind of led to you being in some debt all the way to owning how many properties? 2,200?
We own just over 2,000 doors now.
2,000.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
you think from
2,043.
wow, that's incredible, man. So talk to me about that journey. That's obviously not something everybody does. They don't just like have a bunch of debt and then all of a sudden have 2,000 plus doors. There's something that you
Yeah.
knew that other people don't.
Yeah. Well, I think it stems like even further back. Like when you talk about like the principles of money, right? Like what led you to be who you are now and get into what you are now? I think a lot of it for me stemmed even further back from before I jumped into multifamily. It was like right in college. I went to college, never really had a job because I was always in athletic sports like
You
year round.
prom.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Well, I waited tables for one summer before I went to college. But after that, that was like really the only job I had. I also was a referee for like kids soccer. That was the most I ever done from a work aspect, but because the rest was all sports and stuff. So, but after I went to college, my parents paid for my first semester of school and my first semester of housing. And they were like, they took me over to Boise State University, go Broncos, and drop me off, get us this cool apartment right across the street from campus. And they're like, hey, we want you to know, like your first semester's covered, housing, tuition, all of it. I was like, sweet, this is great. Like, yep, but after that, you're on your own. And I was like, oh,
Yeah, wake up
okay.
call.
Oh, yeah. All right. So now I'm like in this position where I got to figure out how to get by on my own, and this is like, again, my parents are well off at this point. I'm starting to figure out, like, we just got this huge, like, $1 million+ house in the lake. And I'm like, wait a second. This is like, you guys are doing something here. You're doing something. You're teaching me a lesson. I know it. And it forced me to go create. And that's what I did. Jumped into sales, started earning my own income, and, making a bunch in the summertime to where I didn't have to, work during the school year. I could focus on my schooling, my education, which was important to me. But like that taught me, I jumped into sales and I learned the skill set of communication and, how to interact with all different people from all walks of life. And that was huge for me because those skill sets translated into where I'm at today. Communication. So
So that's how you got me into your multifamily deal, right? You sold me.
yeah. Yeah. Well, you sold me, then I sold you. Yeah. No, but the real estate sells itself, man, but it's a relationship business for sure.
Were there any moments that you had when, like you mentioned, maybe your parents gave you like that big scary moment, like, "Hey, you're on your own." Do you have any dark moments or like any breaking point to where you think it was a good learning lesson looking back?
Yeah, I mean, more than anything, it was like a new challenge. Like I've never backed down from a challenge. It was a new challenge, something new where it's like you got to go figure this out. And that was exciting to me and to go figure something new out. And I jumped into a sales job. Like I was an 18-year-old kid, traveled across the country out to Philadelphia, and I went and knocked on doors and I sold home security systems. Like that's not easy. You learn how to take rejection um and it was a cool thing to learn. And I made just under 30 grand in a summer, and I came back and I realized, wow, like I have more potential than I think. Like I have more abilities. And so, but what, it wasn't an easy job, right? Like there were times throughout that first, month and a half of that first summer I did it where I thought that I was like thinking of quitting.
Hmm.
But I've never quit a thing in my life. And so that thought is what spooked me. But the reward on the other side from me not quitting, 100 times better, man. 100 times better.
I love to hear that. I think I tweeted this something similar along the lines of this yesterday. I was like, the only way you can actually actually lose is by quitting. Like, even if you suck at something, even if you're not great at something, like if you don't quit, like you're not ever gonna really lose until like somebody kills you. Like you're dead. And so like
Yeah.
it's an interesting concept. How has it kind of played out throughout other things in your life? Like, as far as like, obviously you've been jabbed once or twice, you've been punched once or twice, probably.
Yep.
And how have you been able to overcome those kind of things because of that mentality of like, I don't quit?
Yeah. And say this to my students all the time, but I say like the only time you'll lose in this business is if you quit. And because if you keep getting up, you're just one relationship away, one door away, one connection away from like changing your path. And it applies to exactly where we're at today, right? But like in real estate, for example, which is where I am, learning how to take that rejection from doing sales at a younger age. When I first jumped into the multifamily space, man, we submitted 27 offers before I got my first one accepted. And so if I would have quit, or if I would have been a quitter, and I tell everyone this before as well, it's like, if you've been a quitter traditionally in life, then don't do this business, right? But if you've traditionally been someone that you see things through, like you commit to something, you get it done, then do it, right? And so that's, if I would have quit before the 26th offer, I may not be here today. And
Mhm.
so that grit, that like push through anything mentality has helped me in every business that I've done. And sometimes I don't even think I've reflected enough to realize how much it's actually benefited me.
Yeah, I learned all my rejection from asking girls out. And
You got the one that matters, right?
yeah, I finally found one of them.
Yeah, there you go.
It,
In numbers.
it's interesting that you say that though, because like I talk about this like all the time, like the rejection, the resistance. I always say like somebody that's the most successful, all the successful people I see, it could be an everyday person, it could be Bill Gates, it could be, I don't like Bill Gates, but it could be Elon Musk, it could be somebody big, big name. Every one of those people have dealt with people that hate on them, say no to them, reject them,
Yeah.
tell them their idea is garbage, in fact.
Yeah.
And I think it takes a special type of person to be able to withstand that much resistance for that long, because the human nature, like we break down fast. And like somebody that holds that bar in their chest longer than the next person, or does an extra rep than somebody at the gym, is obviously going to build up a stronger body. And I think it's the same thing with your mind, and mindset to success is exactly what you just hit on.
Yeah. I think like the more you can get comfortable doing tough things, like the easier future tough things will be. There's a great book by John C. Maxwell called Failing Forward. And it's a really cool book. Teaches you how to change. Have you read it?
Yeah, I have.
Super good book. I love like the principles. I love what you learn. I love how it shifts you to like think of actually like almost fearing failure to seeking it out, because the most successful people in the world, they've failed more times than we've even tried.
Hmm.
And so, they seek out this failure because in those moments of failure, that's where you actually learn the most. That's where you grow the most. And that's where you can kind of push your business, your life in the right direction. So I think it's a huge part of growth.
Yeah, I like a lot of people look at you or I probably, and they're like, oh, they got this and that, and they're doing so well in business. And like, honestly, I feel like shit right now. Like
Yeah.
I've had like the worst week in the world in the last couple of weeks of like just business in general. And so like being able to withstand that and understand like the bigger picture and realize, hey, if you let emotions play too much of a role in the moment, you're going to get sucked and suffocated. And
Well, you look at like what you just talked about. Like I just saw it on your story today about that guy that's like the imposter. And it's like, dude,
unbelievable.
that is unbelievable. Like that's a serious thing. Like
Yeah.
this is like a huge part of like what your why is, someone using that. But again, you could take that one way and let it get the best of you, or like what you did is you flipped it into a positive. Like that is super strong. Like I love seeing like that kind of perseverance.
Yeah, and obviously for anyone listening, like what this was, somebody scammed one of my followers. This is at least what I know at this point. Somebody scammed my follower $10,000. Now, I was also told that there's also scammers that get in cahoots with each other, and one person comes to you and tells them you've been scammed by somebody, and then it really is that person trying to scam you to get them to give you, for you to give them money, which was like mind-boggling, the fact that people do that. But like basically, so for what I know is that somebody told one of my followers, they were on an IG live, Instagram live, and they were asking about multifamily, funny enough. And they were also asking about crypto. And I answered briefly the question. I said, hey, come to my DMs. And supposedly this other individual that was stalking this Instagram live actually went to that page and said, hey, and they posed as me on a fake Instagram page. Hey, message me on WhatsApp. And so they messaged him on WhatsApp, and it was, again, a fake profile of me, fake number, fake name, all that kind of stuff. And they actually called them, which is crazy that they called them, because usually scammers are behind, texting and messaging and stuff. And they
Mm-hmm.
called them and they hung up. They said it was like the call got cut out because they had to attend to their daughter, my daughter, who has like a seizure. They're like, hey, they're giving a shot of a specific medicine, and it's actually Keppra, which is actually a medication that we use for that. It's also a generalized seizure medicine for like general seizures. And so this individual obviously probably Googled seizure medicine and
Yeah, they did
figured out to
homework.
use Keppra and use the actual, like, I forget, it's Livicta something. I forget how you pronounce it, the medical name. And they went to this individual and said that they were helping their daughter, giving her a shot. She was refusing to eat and all this stuff. And they were like, hey, here's a link anyway. In the meantime, you can go wire this $10,000 to my crypto account. And supposedly at this point in time, at least from what I know, is that follower went ahead and did that. And it's the crypto market, and there's no banks involved, and you can't go call them and say anything. So from my understanding, they lost $10,000, and they utilized a pretty poor route to get that $10,000. So my initial reaction was obviously, yeah, I'm pretty mad about this. Like, obviously, right?
Yeah.
But then I'm thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, obviously I tear this kid's head off, like naturally. But if I continue to think that way and continue to let that eat me up, it would have eaten me up for good. But instead, bringing awareness to it,
Yeah.
showing that obviously not only be careful, but like then I can also raise awareness for Dravet syndrome. And so that simple flip is one of those things you're referring to. It's a tough thing to do,
Mm-hmm.
but you can always find the good in everything. So that's
Yeah.
very powerful. Talk
Yeah, you did. You handled that well, man.
Talk to me about multifamily. I know you're big in multifamily. Obviously, we have two deals now, in Houston and Dallas together. What does the future look like for you, man, as far as multifamily, the business, everything like that?
Yeah. Life is cool. Life is going in a really cool direction. And I feel very blessed and fortunate to just be in the position I am to, one, provide investment opportunities for people, two, have the knowledge that I have, and three, to be able to teach and educate other people on how to do what I've done. Um, but yeah, I mean, we've been in the space for a little over 3 years now. We've acquired 12 properties. We're closing on our 12th property here, and by the time this airs, it'll probably be closed in the next 2-3 weeks. And that'll put us just over 2,000 doors at 2,043 doors and 260 million of assets under management. In that period of time, it's been a fun ride. There's been ups, there's been downs, there's been challenges. You learn a lot with every new deal. But I like that stuff. Like I seek those kind of things out, because every new challenge, like we just talked about, it makes you a better version of you. I'm becoming a better multifamily investor with every deal that I get, because of the new curveballs that I get on each property. And there's always going to be curveballs. And so you're never just going to have like a perfect deal where it's just perfect. So the better you can handle these curveballs thrown your way, that's what's going to determine the success in the business. And we've done pretty well, but I feel like I'm just getting started. We've got an investor database, a little over 1,100 investors in our database. We buy these properties with investors like yourself, myself as well. And my goal is to increase the investor database to 25,000. So 25x where we are right now, or yeah, more than that. And yeah, that way we can fund and do all the deals we really want to do. And you and I have talked about a future vision even more together, which I really love the idea of where that could go too. But yeah, I feel like we're just getting started, launching some education side, some coaching side as well. So we're going in a cool direction.
I have a few questions, man. Like, because this is interesting. This is a new space for me. Obviously, your deal is the first deal I've ever done in multifamily space. But like more so, before we get to that, like the business side of things. Like somebody hears this, they're listening to this. Like he had debt, he got out of debt, he started his own business. He obviously had some real estate experience with his parents, but like you have $260 million in assets now. Talk to me like how that transition went, like from the beginning. It was a pretty quick time to where you're at
Yeah.
right now, and like how you did it.
It was just people. It's the power of people. There's power in proximity, and I changed my circle. I used to live in Denver, Colorado, and I love it there. Got some great friends there, but the reality is like my inner circle was not making me better. And so I had this like epiphany one day where I was like, man, I know I'm capable of more. I know I'm worth more. I know I can accomplish more. And like up out of nowhere, my wife and I packed up our house, moved out to Dallas, didn't even have a house. Like we took a risk on ourselves. We were like, man, we got to change our situation. And that's what we did. Found a house, moved in, boom. 3 days later, COVID hit. And it's like, oh man, like we were living in our house with no furniture for months. And so because we moved, so we ordered everything online and they stopped delivering to people's homes because of COVID. So we just had, we had our bed, no couches, no tables. It was an interesting thing, but we had fun with it, right? But like that led me to like it scared me. Like I was in the direct sales space at that time, and I realized like, wait, we can't do face-to-face sales. Like we have to start. Like I got to protect my family. Like if I'm going to protect my family, I got to find another means of income, something new. So I start doing some research on real estate and investing, kind of like my parents had done. And that's what led me to a coaching and education program that I came through. And I ended up spending $40,000 to get mentored and coached how to buy apartments. And that was hard for me because, as I had just made a couple bad investments in my 20s, which led to me being in a lot of debt. I was in almost 6 figures of just credit card debt. And I remember sending you a sheet, and it was like, hey, this is how much I have. And then sending it to you when I was done, I was like, man, this is pretty cool. But like when I was making this decision to go spend the money, I didn't have a ton liquid at the time because I had been paying off all my debt, my credit card debt. So it's like I had a 45, 50 grand of liquid of available credit, but I didn't have that much money liquid in my account. So like I came to a really big crossroads. It's like, hey, you just spent the last 2-3 years paying down debt. So now like what, you're about to go back, like max out everything just so you can learn this new business. Like that was a huge risk at that point. But at the end of the day, I was willing to bet on me. Right. It's like, I was willing to put myself back in a very uncomfortable position so I could go pursue this business. But for me, it was way bigger than that. It was protecting my family. It was changing the path that I was on and surrounding myself with people that were doing bigger things than I was doing and changing my circle. So that's what I did. I spent 40 grand.
Love how you said that $40,000, dude. That's a lot of money.
A lot.
And it was a mentorship and access. And I talk about this a lot. Like, I don't think people really truly understand this concept. They're like, oh, well, mentorship should be free, or, I'm not paying somebody X amount of dollars. I've done the same. I've done, quite honestly, not to one up you here, I've done more than that. And the reason I say that is because I don't always look at it from a dollar perspective. I look at it from a value and ROI perspective. If I can get access or mentorship to somebody that's 10 levels ahead of me and it's practical expertise, it's not out of a textbook. It's real life experience that would change your life. And that $40,000 turned into $260 million in assets. Like that's substantial, but that also isn't uncommon for people that take risk on themselves and pay to play. Too many people are cheap out here with a scarcity mindset. I think that's a testament to what you've been able to do and take it to the next level because you took a bet on yourself and you finally said, enough's enough. Circle's dead that I'm in. I need to figure out a new circle. I'm going to pay this person X amount of dollars to figure this out once and for all. And then it's opened up so many more opportunities for you as well.
So many, man. And I'm so glad that you said that too about how much you've put in. Because for those people that don't know, like the learning never stops. The learning never stops. If you guys are listening right now, like Brennan, myself, like we will always probably buy into more programs or get more coaches and more education. Like I've invested probably multiple six figures into myself at this point but it's not like a risk at this point. It's more of like, hey, I see value and I'm going to go attack that value. I know it can add value to my life and maybe I could add some value to, someone I make a connection with over there. So
Yeah.
it never stops though.
It's such a good conversation. And like, I think when people get it, they get it, but like it takes a long time for many people to get it because like most people are thinking when they think investment, they're like stock market, real estate, businesses and stuff like that. But like one of the I think the catchiest phrases ever was Alex Ramosi. He says the SME 500 versus the S&P 500, meaning basically invest in yourself and skill sets and education and access and connections. Like that is going to be, I mean, I don't know. Ever since I was little, I mean, I wasn't the brightest tool in the shed or smartest tool or smartest, whatever you want to say. I'm fumbling my words right now.
I get it.
But like
sharpest tool in the shed.
Sharpest tool in the shed. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I got good grades and stuff like that. But like, I think the biggest piece of my success so far has been communication, access to people, networking, building relationships, and communicating very at a high level to people. Because telling people what I want, and you don't have to be like a genius. You don't have to be Elon Musk genius, Jeff Bezos genius. Of course, if you're going to be the richest person in the world, maybe, but to be an everyday successful person, which is what the goal of this podcast is, you need to get in circles that are successful people. And most people are like, well, how do you do that? It's like, talk to people. Like, that's all you have to do. It might not lead to something right off the bat, but if you get get in the habit of introducing yourself to somebody at the gym or striking up a conversation to somebody out when you're eating, that might lead to somebody else. Oh, I have this connection. Oh, I would love to connect you. And it becomes that with time. I even say my wealth building journey, it like literally is actually networking more so than like actually like money or stocks or real estate. It's like me and you connected. And because I connected with you, I've never had experience in multifamily real estate. But because we connected, now I have access to something I never knew I even could have access to. I didn't even really know as much. I didn't know much about it. And you educated me on it in a big way. And because of that, now I'm in 2 deals of yours and probably many more to come.
Yeah, I think that's huge, man. And there's so much power in proximity. Like you just said and I tell people all the time too, I think like the business that we're in is more of a relationship business than even a real estate business. Like there's a lot of real estate knowledge you can learn and you need to learn to do it, but the relationships can get your foot in the door to go learn those things at a faster pace. And that's what's opened up so many doors for sure.
It's relationship capital in a sense, right? Like, so when you get into the right circles, they have the money, the capital being money, dollars. But it's, if somebody trusts you more so, or somebody sees that you have an opportunity, they're going to say, oh, I can transfer my capital, my money capital to my relationship capital and give you the opportunity to take my capital in to build this business. It helps you, it helps me, and it's collaboration. And I think competition happens at the bottom, collaboration happens at the top. And I see it every day play out more and more for me. And until you
Wait, can you say that again? What was that?
Yeah.
Can you say that?
So competition happens at the bottom, collaboration happens at the top.
That is such gold.
It is. And it's something I've really lived as well. Is like, it felt like when I was paying off debt, like I was like in such a hustle. I had to like do all these side hustles. I had to like work extra hours. I had to impress my boss and do all these things. And like, I felt like not a shell of myself in a sense. It was required to get to this level. But now at this level, man, like you give me a call, you're like, hey man, I have a deal opportunity for you. And you're about to present to my 7-figure club here soon, specifically. And like now those individuals have access to these deals as well. And it becomes a relationship building game and just a communication game. And it's easy. It gets easier actually. Like it's weird that it works that way, but it gets easier, I feel.
Yeah. And I've just always been a believer that there's enough good to go around. Like having an abundant mindset is what will get you in places, for sure. And just to go along with everything we're saying, invest into yourself, be abundant, be willing to give, add value freely. One of my mentors told me once the best, and I'm in the real estate space, of course, but he said the best piece of real estate that you can invest in is the 6 inches of real estate between your ears. And I was like, man, yeah, invest into yourself for sure. So that's what I've been on a path of doing, and it's paid off for sure. And now I try to help other people do the same thing.
It's funny you say that. When I when I went to this gun shop one time, I said, "Is there safety on this gun?" They're like, "The safety is between the 6 inches between your ears," or something like that. You're similar.
Gotcha.
So tell me about this education business you got, man.
Yeah, so I've been working on this for a little over a year now, for about 13 months. Been very intentional and focused on making sure that I'm teaching people how to do what I've done in a very efficient way. Teaching people the ins and outs of, how to go find deals, how to talk to brokers, how to underwrite properties, how to talk to investors, how to raise capital, how to manage these big assets, and just build a strong foundation for their multifamily real estate portfolio. I put a lot of effort, time, energy, and thought into making sure I'm teaching the right principles. So anyway, we're actually about to launch March 4th, and super excited for that. And it's been a long time coming. And will it be perfect? Probably not. But what I can tell you is it's what's worked for me, and it's what's gotten me to where I am today. And I'm hoping that the people that want to get educated and taught by me are the people that help build it into the best thing it can be. I'm sure you probably found that with Budget Dog. You probably got feedback on, hey, we want to learn this. We want to learn this. Then you went and created that for your people.
Oh yeah, my products and services, especially Budget Dog Academy, dude, has been like ever changing in like constant feedback loop of student comes in, tells me they need this help. I incorporate that immediately. There's common trend through here. And obviously in your situation, man, $260 million in assets, you say it's not going to be perfect, but how many people can say they have $260 million of assets under their name? That's incredible. The success you've already seen. Where can people find this? If I'll link something in the show notes, but where can people find this specifically?
Yeah, I'm launching the landing page and all that, but I'll have links to it on my social media accounts. There it can take you to a website where you can learn all about what's offered, and if people see value in it, reach out. We'll schedule a call and kind of go over how the program will work. But the goal is to help people get their foot in the door and learn how to do this business, because it's totally doable. And I believe, like, I'm a huge believer in real estate. I grew up around it, and I saw kind of what it did for my parents' life. But we've kind of taken it to a new level. And I believe with the right access to the right information, the right training, the right resources, the right coaches and mentors, the right community and network, I think you can skip all the small stuff. I do. I think, and it's not saying that the small stuff's bad by any means. Some of my best friends are killing it in the single family game, and, fix and flips, wholesaling, buy and hold. And so it's a great way to make money. I just believe you can skip that stuff if you so choose, and, kind of go to the big leagues, if you will.
We'll put everything in the show notes, guys. What is the social media handle that they should be following you at?
It's at Eric_Chadderdon.
Yep. We'll put the spelling, guys, in the show notes so that you got that down.
Yeah.
Well, hey, man, I really appreciate you coming on here. Is there any last words from you to kind of give the audience?
I think if you're watching this, then if you want to go see success, you got to get a haircut like Brendan and I.
Hey, I was about to say, we're in line.
We've got like the same haircut, but that seems to be the common theme here.
You got the shave up on the side. You do the full shave.
The bald fade. Yeah.
Same, exactly. I love it. I changed that recently. Actually, I used to do 0. I did a 1 for a while, then I did 0. I was like, no, we need to do the bald shave.
Yep. And I start it higher, so I'm like, and I get it every week. So this is like, I'm getting it right.
I do it every 2 weeks.
So a little hack for you. There's some places they'll put you on a membership, so you'll pay like $85 a month. I think mine's like $85, and you can go unlimited times for the month. And so I just go every single week, same time.
Where is this?
So I go to a place called Tune Up, but every city I go to, I've always found like the membership places.
Man, I go to Great Clips, and all my team makes fun of me. They're like, you are putting yourself at risk every time you walk into that place.
Hey, I think it looks good, man. I think you're pulling it off.
Fine. I honestly go to different people all the time. I don't even go to the same person. Like, it's just like, it's a gamble almost every time. I come home.
That's a little more than I do. Yeah. That's cool. But I think, no, on a serious note, man, like the game of business, the game of success, the game of life, like it's important to start getting educated, trained on whatever your passion is, whatever goals you want to do, it's like the time is now, right? Because the world is changing all the time. And really, like, the question is, like, if not you, then who? Like, no one's going to come save you. No one's going to come do this for you. And so surround yourself with people like Brennan, people that in whatever space you want to go in, and just go all in with whatever it is, because things can change really quick. 3 years ago, I would not have thought that I would be where I am today. I always knew I was capable of something. I didn't know it was going to be this great. And I feel like we're still just barely touching the surface. So
That's incredible, man. Thank you for coming on. This is awesome. And guys, check out the show notes. Eric has a lot of good stuff to offer, and he's very young in the game, so he has a lot of time to in the future that's going to play out in a big way. Thanks, man.
yeah, thanks for having me on.
You've been listening to Money on My Mind with your host, Brennan Schlagbaum. If you found value in today's discussion, share it with someone who could benefit from it too. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already, so you never miss a money mastery tip. Until next time, stay passionate about your financial journey and keep taking bold steps towards your money goals.